Hi, this is Mindy from Time to Unwind, and today I want to show you these needles. Now these are generally called something like knit picks or knitting repair tools, or I've seen several names for them. Some of them are almost humorous. And that you're seeing a lot of them showing up right now. They're not new. I've seen them for years, many years, and they're also not a new idea at all, but in their original uses, they weren't necessarily used just for repair. They can be used for other things. I saw them a long time ago, and so when I saw them, I kind of got excited. The first thing I want to mention is that you hear about Portuguese knitting, and you hear about how they tension it around their neck where they use a pin, and sometimes people mention, oh, and sometimes they use hooked needles. Hooked needles. That is what you're looking at here. I'm going to basically show you a little bit about this. Back in the probably late 70s, possibly early 80s, I read a book in the library. Oh my golly, library books. Yeah, it was a really old book. And at the time, it was like a 50-year-old book in my library. And so I can't remember the name. I can't remember the author's name. It was about the history of knitting. And I do remember the fact that the author mentioned that 150 years ago, now mind you, this was a 50-year-old book back in the late 70s, early 80s, in Peru, people used to knit with hooked needles. Well, you got to think back, how did the knitting get to Peru? Well, it probably came from the sailors. The sailors might very well have been Portuguese, and the Portuguese used hooked needles. So, I thought that was really cool back then. And I didn't have any hooked needles, but I had crochet hooks, and I taught myself to knit with crochet hooks. And then of course I thought, I've got Tunisian hooks, except that back then they were called Afghan hooks. So I had some Afghan hooks, and I switched over to those, and so I really went to town on those. And I actually taught a class in which I used that as part of the teaching. It was knitting and crocheting using all 6 thumbs. It was basically like a remedial class for people who couldn't figure out how to do it. So here it is, all of a sudden they're around again, and I was so excited. And I went online, and they're charging an arm and a leg for them for the most part. I mean, I'm seeing them for $14, for $15, for $12. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get one for $7 or $8. And then I saw these packages of 14 different sizes for under 10. I'll say under 10 because the prices do change. But I got 2. That way I would have pairs. These range in size in this package from it's a set of 14. Each of them are 14 inches long, and they range in size from 3 millimeters to 10 millimeters. I wish you could read the label, but I can't get the lighting right. So you've got quite a variation in size here, from quite small to quite big, as I was showing you before. And so you've got quite a variation in size, and these are basically like the hooked needles that they used to use at one time. Now you might think, well, the Tunisian crochet hooks might be closer, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of times they were using them for knitting in the round. And so this time I'm just going to show you knitting with the hooked needles. And I'm actually going to stick this around my neck so that it's a little bit more like the tensioning that they show you. Although a lot of times I don't bother with it. But let me just show you a little bit. I already cast on 10 stitches. In fact, I knit a row. But I want you to be able to see how this works because it is really, really nice. And usually, at least when I start, I don't swear that I keep it that way, but I usually start with the hook of the needle pointing into the point of the teardrop of the shape of the loop. Now, whether you knit right-handed or left-handed, you're going to want this yarn to be extended. So you can do it this way or you can do it this way. For me, it is easiest partially because I was taught to crochet first, or I learned to crochet first, let's say. And so I'm going to do it like this. But if you want to do it with a right-handed extension of your finger, go for it. It's going to feel awkward at first just because it's a new thing. And tension your yarn however you normally tension it, and you're just going to slide in. Now, you don't want to make your stitches too tight because you won't be able to slide in particularly if you've got big needles. But you're just going to reach in and grab that and pull it off. Reach in, grab it, and pull it off. Does this look familiar? This is like speed knitting. I'm doing it as slowly as I can so that you can hopefully see. In. Nope, I missed. I'm trying to look at too many things at once. Go in, grab it, pull it through, and off. And you can kind of do that all in 2 movements, really. In, grab, pull off. 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 And there we are at the end. And normally I probably would have slipped that last stitch, so I'm going to do that. Now, that was knitting it. Let's see what it's like to purl. And again, you're going to want to tension it however works for you. And of course I slipped this last stitch because I want that a little bit tighter on the end, so you'll have to excuse me if I'm trying to angle this so you can see what I'm doing. But you're going to go in, grab, up and off. In, grab, up and off. In, grab, up and off. I'm hoping you can see this well. In, grab, up and off. In, grab, up and off. Almost to the end of the row. In, grab, up and off. In, grab, up and off. And then we'll just slip the last stitch. So there we go. We've knit a row and purled a row and slipped the last stitches. So there you go. It's easy. Okay, so I hope you can try this. You can get a couple of Tunisian hooks if you'd like. You can get a couple of crochet hooks. You can purchase something like this very reasonably through Amazon. These are bamboo, carbonized bamboo, combination crochet hook knitting needle, set of 14, 3 millimeters to 10 millimeters. This will give you a large portion of what you need to use. We can, we're going to do another little video showing you how to do these for knitting in the round. And then, but like I say, if you want to use just a regular crochet hook to just learn to put the hooks through and pull the yarn, it works. And I used to teach people, I used to teach a class, as I say, called Knit and Crochet using all 6 thumbs. And I would basically start people with crochet, move them into Tunisian crochet, and then pick up a second hook and move them right into knitting. It was the smoothest transition you've ever seen. I never had anybody get frustrated and say this is too hard. It just went right through. So it really is a nice technique, and you know, I don't know why people kind of brush over that aspect of Portuguese knitting, because hey, it's really cool. And so we'll do another video shortly showing how to do this for knitting in the round, and we'll be back. Meanwhile, if you haven't done it before, please click on subscribe, and if you want to like this, you certainly are welcome to like this video, and we'll see you again. Thank you.